what would you suggest the LDS Church itself could do to reach people like you? Because there are people like you and me. There are people who are more centered on the sins of the flesh as they would see them. What could the LDS do to help a young man like you at that point in your life? From the Mecca of Mormonism, Salt Lake City, Utah, this is Heart of the Matter. For the next 4 to 8 weeks, we're going to have a stream of guests. Now, these guests are really important to me because I know these people personally. They bring something to the table that's unique. They're not specifically made to do a show, but they're because that's not what they've been trained in or something. They are here to bring light and knowledge on certain subjects. And so I have the benefit and pleasure to introduce my friend and a fellow brother in Christ, Justin Nielson, sitting with me today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time and the courage to come and talk to us.
Courage is a big word.
Courage is a big word. Courage. We want to hear about you first, who you are, where you came from, why you're here, where you're going. No.
The golden question.
The golden question. Tell us about your, go start early life, born, raised, what happened?
Okay, so early life, I was adopted.
You were adopted.
So I was born in Twin Falls, Idaho, and was picked up 3-4 days after I was born from my parents now, and I'm the youngest of 3, and we're all adopted. So.
Oh. Do we know anything about adoptive mom or dad?
The only thing I know.
Besides, they were very good looking.
Yeah, sure. No, the only thing I know is the birth mother was fairly young, and everything's sealed. So.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, years ago I tried to had the desire, I guess, to find out, not to see, is there something better that I missed or what, just to know, right?
Yeah.
And the closest I got was, I was told, even though I was an adult, I had to have a letter from my current parents signed saying it's okay to open up the sealed document. But the attorney I talked to just said, the most you would ever, I'd be able to read you the names over the phone. I can't give you any paperwork or anything, right. And it's X amount of dollars to do so. So I didn't move forward with it. We talk about it all the time. It's kind of just one of those unknowns that are just maybe after this life we'll see how it goes and figure it out.
Your other siblings, did they find out who their birth
No, but they know a little bit more. My parents know a little bit more about their background. Mm-hmm. Not a ton, but just a little bit as opposed to mine. Like it's just completely in the dark. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So mom and dad, were they from Idaho?
Mm-mm. No, my parents are from Utah, like southern Sanpete County area, like Ephraim, Moroni.
Ephraim and Moroni.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, but
now grandparents still there? Do you have grandparents?
No, they're all gone. So they're still family. I have an aunt and uncle that live there, 2 pairs, and then some cousins and whatnot. So there's still a few family members down there. But
so the big assumption is you were raised in the LDS Church.
Mm-hmm.
And mom and dad, level of activity and faithfulness on a scale of 1 to 10?
12.
Wow. Very devout.
Yeah. And again, not to, just very, when I was younger, my dad was a bishop. So that was like, they say there's a time limit, 5 years or whatever, but it seemed longer than that. So, and that was at a younger age. So a lot of time away, not him gone.
Was that here in Utah?
Mm-hmm. Salt Lake. So I grew up in the Cottonwood Heights area, and they still live there, so same house.
What high school?
Brighton High School.
What's their mascot?
Bengal.
Tiger. You were a Bengal?
I was for 2 years. I came back. That's another part of the story. But so I was at Brighton for 2 years.
So prior to high school, what kind of kid were you growing up? And did your parents tell you were adopted from a young age?
Yeah, from day one. We've always known. We've always talked about it openly. In fact, to the point where it was, we would joke, like, if our friends' parents were upset, we'd be like, well, at least we know our parents wanted us, They chose us, right?
Right.
out of the. But there's difficulty behind the adoption thing as well. But.
Oh, sure. In many ways, you're probably grateful and blessed that you were brought into a home that would provide for your material needs.
Yeah.
Maybe your birth mother wasn't able to do that or something like that.
There's a lot of things and there's a lot of adopted people out there, so I don't mean to make it that it's just me, but my experience, I really try and look at the respect value of it. Like how hard it was for her to give me up, but knowing that obviously probably the best thing for me.
Sure.
Knowing that she wasn't maybe mentally, physically, all that stuff able to really take care of me. So, yeah, I mean, I have no issue. I mean, I'm very blessed to have the parents and the family I have. There's differences in views of life, but, blessed. And
so with and I'm just asking because I'm ignorant, but you don't get any medical records either? You don't know them?
Nothing.
So you could have some kind of genetic predisposition that would alter, and you really wouldn't know how to even detect that.
So it's interesting, like growing up, they've been open about it, right? Like you were adopted. We don't know who your parents are. But that stuff never was ever like an issue to me. Like I never thought of it that way. Just, yeah, I'm adopted and these are my parents and it's all open. But, as I got older and then I got married, Brooke asked me, that kind of same stuff. What's your medical history? I don't know, no idea. And not to, be light about the perspective of I was always told the Mormon version was we were all sealed in the temple, and so it's all, done that way, and the bloodline changes and all that kind of stuff I was taught.
Yeah.
And so just from a young age, just assuming this is all part of the plan. And
so do you remember as a kid your earliest memories and building on that were you comfortable? Did you feel like you were just naturally part of a cohesive family, or did you feel like you were sort of unassimilatable, that you were different, did you start to notice that at all?
Not that, like from them?
No, just your own perception. Did you just perceive, wow, I don't think I belong in this world completely, or this family, or this neighborhood, or whatever?
No, I never felt that way. I just, I don't think I knew any different.
Yeah.
And so, growing up in Utah and, given the circumstance, I never thought about that. I didn't think of somebody else that was adopted and think, oh man, you got it so much better than I do.
So what kind of kid were you?
I was a troublemaker. I would be not the class clown, but I'd get in trouble and stupid things here and there. As I got older, I don't know if you want to say I went against everything that it was taught, but I just always had kind of an attraction and a desire to, party and have a good time. And so as a younger person, searching those little things out here and there, and and then eventually getting to where you're in high school, and But see, I moved. I was only here for 2 years for high school, so my dad, I lived in Australia for a while, so.
So with mom and dad being at a level 12 of Mormon adherence, and you liking trouble, it wasn't trouble that was like jail. It was just mischief and stuff. So when did you first get into real trouble? What happened that unfolded in your life that introduced you to partying and all that? High school?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, so when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, I moved to Australia. My dad was a mission president. And so I went with them and things are pretty loose over there. And so just kind of, getting involved that way. And then
What part of Australia did you live?
Sydney.
Sydney, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it in terms of just the experience?
It was interesting, there was a lot of cool things to it. We lived pretty close to a train station. I could go and, just jump on a train and go wherever. But, being alone a lot, that was, because the kids I hung out with at school, where I lived, it was a big mission complex, right? And it was far away from the school I went to. And so nobody, I maybe threw one or two parties, but I didn't, it wasn't like I had friends over and just hung out all the time.
So first beer, what was the first intoxicant you took into your system?
Oh, geez.
Illegally, not like aspirin from mom.
Aspirin? Aspirin? Oh, that's good. No.
I have to clarify the terms.
I don't know that I was intoxicated, but I remember in elementary school, a friend of mine, his brother had beer in the fridge, and he took a can, and I remember we just, I remember in the tree in the backyard and taking a sip of it and like, whoa.
In the tree.
Yeah. My mom, growing up, she was in a bowling league, and when I was little, I'd go to that and be in the little bowling camp, like the daycare. And this was back when they smoked inside. I remember walking around the ashtrays and picking up the lit cigarettes and being like, just a curious kid. I don't know, maybe just a dumb kid. I don't know. Curious. But as far as intoxicated, I don't know, probably junior high.
Junior high. So when you say junior high, you literally, that's a young age, really. It isn't for everybody, but it's a young age to start to drink or smoke or whatever. Any conflict with the Mormon word of wisdom, mom and dad being so faithful, and Justin smoking and drinking in junior high school? I mean, it was the fear thing, getting caught. I was obviously very quiet about it. I got caught not all the time, but I got caught enough that it wasn't a secret anymore. But just, I don't know that I really understood the Mormon version of how to live, you know what I'm saying? Like the commandments, to the point where I'd be like, I can't do that. It was more of fear of my parents. Like I can't have my parents find out, I can't get caught, and so it wasn't, I don't think anything was based on the way I was taught. I knew I was doing wrong as far as the doctrine or the church goes, but I was always more afraid of my parents. So. And what kind of student were you?
I was okay student, not great. I was okay.
And then sports?
I played football and basketball.
Wow.
So
yeah. Girls?
Yeah, I had girlfriends growing up. I wasn't like a womanizer. But
immorality trail that many teens in Mormonism will do.
Never.
Your sarcasm.
He's a
very sarcastic guy.
I am not a sarcastic
He
guy.
really is.
I'm being serious. What's the bear?
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, I was curious and.
Were you going to the bishop and having confess?
No. In fact, I remember the term "getting ready for your mission" came up, right? And I remember I'm like, man, what am I supposed to do? Like, just lie? I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Because I was scared of, whatever repercussions of people finding out or parents. But I remember I just went in and told them, hey, I did this a few times. And it was, don't take the sacrament. I don't remember exactly what the punishment was, but, just being honest with it, but still lying about it. Not being straight.
Did you have a testimony of the church?
You know what? I could muster up saying, I'm proud of Joseph Smith for his courage to, ask questions and stuff like that. But, there was nothing that was like stronghold, like, man, this is it, and I have to fight for everything that I can to be a part of it, because it's so correct. I think there was always questions in my mind. In fact, I remember I'd go to church, and whether my judgment or somebody else, I remember always telling people, man, I'll tell you, if this is really the Lord's church and he's looking down on it right now, he can't be that happy with what's going on. What do you mean? Well, the members are just, and it's not about the members, I don't know if that makes any sense, but kind of.
So your perspective was the LDS church, if this is really God's, is failing in some ways, that it should change?
Yeah.
And did you have that opinion for quite a while?
Yeah, and I always looked like, like again, judgment, but there was always something wrong with it.
Right. That
never settled with me, and I'd always be coached and told, oh, no, that's not how it is, and this is how it really is, and never really set with me. It probably maybe pushed me farther away from it.
So you were suspicious of it even as a young kid.
Young, let's say junior high school, starting, going and moving away and seeing a mission be run, and my dad was a great mission president, so I'm not going to take anything away from him, but just the political side of just the weird things that go on. You're watching it going, oh, this is kind of weird.
You have a critical eye.
And then going on my own mission and being like, dude, this is totally opposite of what I saw, So that was probably the biggest questioning time, was on my own mission. Like, it's kind of weird.
So mom and dad's called to be a mission president. All 3 kids go to Australia?
Just me.
Because your other ones are grown?
So my sister was, she was in college, and then my brother was just starting, he had just graduated from high school, and he got a free, tuition at BYU, since my dad was a mission president. But so he went to BYU for a semester, I think, and then he went on a mission.
Is the whole family active today?
Yeah.
Sister and brother, mom and dad.
Yeah.
So you're over in Australia, and these things start heating up in your partying ways?
Yeah. It just became more of a common thing, and it wasn't as big a deal there as it was here. It was more, friends' parents giving us weed to smoke over the weekend, that kind of stuff, like, sure that would happen here, but never happened in my life. But, just becoming more a daily thing, and, I'd get caught, go through the punishment, and then start all over again,
And you would get caught because you would be high? Or they'd smell it on you?
It always kind of, probably through the attendance at school.
Oh.
And then it kind of trickled down, and then, everything kind of met on the same page, like, oh, this is what's going on. And then I'd either, they'd find something, or get caught in the middle of the night coming home, sneaking back in or something,
So listening to you, and like being a parent myself, and you're a parent, and there's a couple ways we could examine this, like if we were psychologists, which we're not, or which I'm not. But it's almost like you either have this propensity genetically to be a questioner, a tester, maybe you had some need to take drugs to calm something in you, or, and this is tough, and I don't mean to bring any shade upon mom or dad, but would you think that the Mormon Church and its demands upon dad as a mission president contributed to your delinquency?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I remember the first time I ever heard anybody maybe come across negative towards the whole having mission president with kids go and taking them away from their life was my wife's aunt, and we had just started dating, and so, but they were very accepting, very great. They're great people, but I remember she mentioned something like, well, how old were you? And then she said, I just don't think I don't understand why the church would make these guys, these parents take these little kids away from their life, and I just don't agree with it, and it's got to be hard, and and so I don't like to blame. Oh, I don't want to blame my problems on the fact that I went to Australia. But I think I had a lot to do with it. And I think deep down inside, my parents feel like there was, something they probably could have done differently. But
So that was 3 years over there?
3 years, yep.
Were you introduced to any new substances?
Well, I mean, pretty much everything that I had ever thought of was introduced over there, that I knew of at that point.
Wow.
So, obviously lots of marijuana, drinking, I mean, beer, alcohol over there is so loose. Other type of psychedelics. But, it was off and on for that 3 years, and then coming back and kind of figuring out, who does what and what kind of thing, get back into the sports and stuff like that.
Did you think Mom and Dad were worried about you?
I don't know that it was a worry, like more of an image thing for them. You know what I mean? Rather than talk about it and just be honest, it's like this, let's just kind of brush it and, move forward and let's just keep it between us. And, not that you need to, announce to the whole world what your problems are, but I don't know. I'm sure they're probably still worried about me. I mean, I'm still screwed up, so, you know what I mean?
Did you go on splits with the missionaries? Did they have any impact on you as a young man?
Just as friends, nothing that they were doing missionary-wise.
None of them partied with you?
No, but I did have a party at the mission home, and so the mission home, the office and the apartment where the office missionaries lived was right the same complex. And I remember having a party, and it started out small and ended up, it was out of control.
A rave?
Out of control. And you got a mission home that says the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints on the front of it, and kids just
pouring in.
Being woke up by one of the office missionaries, hey man, and then walking out, there's just people passed out everywhere, and you got to clean this up. And so, anyway, they never told on me, but I probably should be careful about timelines in case someone watches this. I don't want anybody to get in trouble.
Yeah.
There's no statute of limitations on that. No, I'm kidding.
Not within the religion.
No.
I wanted to say to our audience, I'm laughing a lot because Justin and I are friends, and we both go back and have sordid histories in different ways. So I relate to him as a human being who's gone through struggles with different stuff. I'm not laughing at the idea of drug use because I really don't like it. And I'm not laughing at the idea at all of addiction. So, but I just want you to know that my laughter is because I love this guy, and he has a great sense of humor. And so some of the things he says and the way he delivers it makes me laugh. But it's not about the subject matter. So you come home from the mission field with Mom and Dad, and then you got yourself ready to go on your own mission.
So I came back the summer of 10th and 11th grade.
Oh, okay.
So then I went to high school for 11th, 12th grade. So
you're a Bengal.
And that was honestly like going to Australia was hard, but it was different because it was more like fantasy. Like, man, this is totally new. Everything's new to me. Still just don't know what's going on. But coming back, that was pretty hard.
Wow. In what way?
Just because all my friends by that time had, they had their groups and kind of things were set in place, and it's almost like just taken out. Right, the prime of, so coming back, trying to fit back in with whoever, and some kids acting like they didn't know who I was, but it's not a sob story. I'm just saying it was equally, if not harder, to come back than it was to go there.
If you add in the fact that you left a predominantly LDS community with parents who were very LDS, you went on an LDS mission, but while you were there, you got exposed to all kinds of substances and partying, more than here by far. When you came back, you were still part of that. You had brought that with you, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
So did the LDS friends that you once had a community with here, did that just fade away?
So that's kind of where it was hard coming back. You had the group that, they would act like they were rebellious and talk about it and wish they could have the guts to do it. that never could follow through with actually partying, but good kids, you know, the Molly Mormon kids, I guess. And then the straight up partiers where everybody knew they were partiers, and then the in-between guys that were just, so trying to figure all that, you know, like which group should I, and I kind of just chose to stay and just kind of evolve with everybody. Yeah. But it was, I would go party. And
do you, just at this point in your life, looking back, what would you suggest the LDS Church itself could do to reach people like you? Because there are people like you and me. There are people who are more centered on the sins of the flesh as they would see them. What could the LDS do to help a young man like you at that point in your life?
Honestly, I don't think they could have.
Really?
Yeah, and
that's an interesting profession.
They have and it's not that it couldn't help anybody. I just don't know that, you know, they have a decent program, the addiction recovery program, ARP, I think it is, and I was involved with that years ago. But there's just, I think just throughout the whole, whether it's the addiction program or just the church itself, there's a lot of just surface level emotion. You know, there's not really any, like, at least from what I understand, and through my experience, just like being open and just honest with yourself about how you feel about something or this question doctrinally or just whatever it is. And so I think that I feel like people are kind of, what's the word?
Not transparent.
Well, they feel like they're tied up. Like I can't really just, if I really be honest about this, then I'm going to get in trouble and I'm going to have to go talk to you know what I mean? If I don't know if I'm. Yeah,
you are. So there could, in your opinion, there could be more openness.
But the reality of it is they're just kind of, they've taken a program of AA and just kind of rewritten it themselves to satisfy the pinpoints of you got to go talk to a bishop and this and that, as opposed to just find God. Find God of your understanding and then move forward with that. You know what I mean?
Got it.
It's the program. So for me, it didn't help. I was more frustrated, like, why do we have to go this route, you know? But it's helped a lot of people, and that's, you know, that's good.
So transition was tough when you came back, and then how long was it before you went on your own mission?
So I left, I don't know if it's perks of the circumstances, but I actually went in the MTC when I was 18 and turned 19 in there. It was just kind of like, just got pushed out really quick. Because I didn't really want to go. I didn't know, you know, my brother had gone, I'd been in Australia. It was just, you know, and kind of having to soak in all the responses to that. And so just deciding to go, I guess. But, and it was a decent experience. It wasn't anything, you know.
Did you feel like being pushed at 18 was sort of a way to help get you on a reform and move you from whatever you were doing in your life at that time?
Probably, and it was more an eternal salvation type decision.
Okay.
You know, like that's the way I felt. Like it was like, if you don't do this path that you could have gone down is gone bye-bye, and now you're having to go down this, and it's your fault because you didn't do this. You know,
Got it.
My interpretation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Where'd you go?
I went to Chile, Santiago,
Chile. And did you like it?
It was okay. I mean, I met some pretty cool guys there, but again, I saw a lot of opposites and contrary things happen that I was just like, what in the world, dude? Like, you know, and
you're talking about religious hypocrisy?
Yeah, and just the way, like, you know, the numbers of baptisms there were, and then you would like go into the neighborhoods and these wards that supposedly had so many people, and there's like nobody there, and you know, it's just a lot of stuff. Baptisms were pushed pretty hard, and it wasn't very hard to baptize. I mean, I didn't baptize a lot of people because they finally came out with a rule that missionaries couldn't baptize. It had to be somebody in the ward. But
oh, really? So your dad didn't prep you for the game of numbers and the importance of it?
I watched all of it those 3 years, and the numbers and just pushing hard and just, you know. So we didn't really talk about the numbers and stuff. His was more, this is something you need to do, and go out and do it, kind of a deal.
Got it. Oh, on the mission, did you get high?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a good confession. That's remarkable. That's tabloid stuff. I got high on my mission.
Dude.
A lot?
No.
A couple times?
Mm-hmm. Drank a couple of times.
Drank a couple? Companions, no?
I don't know.
Huh.
I know that, you find friends that you're comfortable with doing things, and then you go on splits or whatever they're called, and then you just go that route.
I'm sorry, but that's just funny. Hey, you want to go on a split?
What do they call them? Missionary?
No, they call them splits.
Splits.
But it's like, I'm saying it's funny, the purpose.
Well,
you're someone I want to go on a split with.
Yeah, dude. Hey, did you bring the beer, man? Like, what? No, I'm just kidding. But it wasn't like that. It was more, finding an over-the-counter prescription that would be, the same effects of what you could get here, kind of, like painkillers and stuff like that.
So you're talking painkillers now and things. You're starting to use that from your experience in Australia? Did you do painkillers in that?
No, that was more when I came home. I remember, I had always been introduced to pain medication. My dad's always had bad health, so he's always had that kind of stuff around. And so I just always kind of knew what it was. But I remember the first time taking it, my friend, one of my football colleague friends, whatever, had surgery and just was passing them out. So I tried it. And that was kind of the first, oh man, this is good stuff. So, and then on the mission, you find the over-the-counter that's pretty good stuff. So,
So leadership positions?
On the mission? No, I never got, I was a district leader.
So someone watching this who's LDS and faithful would say that, well, it's obvious. Justin's problem is he's an addict.
Yep.
He can't obey the laws of the gospel, and he reaped what he sowed. What's the purpose of talking with him and even having an interview? What kind of Mormon was he? If he gets high on the mission, even if it's once, and so that's going to be the kickback from this. What would you say to that?
I would say that not to justify anything or, excuses, but, addiction is something that is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And, some people it just goes away. Some people it's not as big an issue. Some people it's a lot more than maybe I could even understand.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody, but, you get to that, a lot of, there's the term disease, but, some people don't like that term, but, we all everybody has their demons that they deal with.
Yeah.
Whether it's, always run out of gas because they're too lazy to go put gas in the car. I'm just kidding, but that's what always happens to me. I'm just kidding. But, like eating food or shopping or, there's a million things, man, right?
Yeah.
It's just that, you kind of lose a sense of control. Not control, but, you want to do good, but you have this thing in the back that just keeps nagging that, because when I was involved, when I was a member, I just, I had callings. In fact, one of my favorite callings was teaching the gospel principles class. And I remember I would, so I had been excommunicated too. I don't know if you do that. So anyway, we're kind of jumping around, but.
Don't jump. We want to stay on track.
Okay, so
let's get to that.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
So, no, you're fine. So that's why I wanted to talk about your adoption. And I wanted to talk to you about your early experiences with trouble or mischief.
Okay.
To see, because like you said, we're all different. We all have our thing. And it seems like the breeding that happens with Mormonism and the people who convert to it, they have this natural resilience to not have that many addictions. But people who come into it, either from being adopted or they're not part of the breed or whatever, it seems like when you have those addictive personality traits, being a Mormon is really, really difficult, and there isn't much mercy for it, because they don't really, they fully understand obesity. Mormons fully get the need to eat their way into oblivion, and they justify that even though it's against the word of wisdom. But when it comes to illicit drugs or alcohol or anything, there's not much mercy for people who have that problem.
It's becoming more and more acceptable. The problem from my perspective and my experience with it, is I don't know that it's that they don't know how to treat the person. Actually I said that wrong. It's not that they just don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Like, whether it's through being honest, like, oh man, because the reality of it is, I don't want to, you could line 10 people up that are going to church today, and they all have something they're hiding or doing, and that's not for me to judge. I don't care about that.
Right.
But socially, addiction is becoming more acceptable. As everybody just assumes, oh, your typical drug addict is, the person behind the dumpster and walking around homeless, and that's not the case at all.
It's not
at all.
There's a lot of abuse going on in the halls of the priesthood.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing is with addiction, I had a psychologist tell me this years ago, is that it's the addiction all comes from the same place. Sex, drink, drugs, even violence, food, all of that stuff comes from the same place. So just because you don't have the vice of opiates or substances doesn't mean you don't have another vice in some other area, and that other vice is filling that need, which some people have to fill with heroin or whatever it might be. So we're talking to Justin, who he's given us kind of a genealogy of his addictive ways, because he was yearning for something and he was doing these things. This addictive personality is with him. He's in the Mormon church. He's gone on a mission. You come home. What happens?
So I came home and I went down to Snow College to go to school, and I just things continued, and as you get older and old girlfriends come into the picture, and parents don't like her, and blah blah blah, and so just kind of socializing, but getting heavier into like the partying, more consistent, and so not to the point where it's completely out of control, but
any new things added to your palette of substances?
Not at that point, no.
Okay.
Just your typical, just drink and weed and stuff like that. So nothing. That's all bad stuff.
Right.
I shouldn't say bad, but nothing like what the future holds. But
right.
So I had gone, and then I met. The semester ended. I went back home, and my sister-in-law introduced me to Brooke, my wife. We knew of each other a little bit in high school, but she was at Utah State at the time, so we just kind of dated through the phone and then on the weekends. But I was still partying. So I'm on the phone, being one person and really being the person I probably wanted to be more,
Were you going to the temple as a returned missionary?
I never went on my own accord. I always went if I was sort of, Mother's Day, we had to go with the family and stuff like that.
Mother's Day?
Well, no, it was always, Mother's Day was always a big time that my mom would want us to all go, not specifically that day, but just for her as a Mother's Day gift, you know what I mean? So.
Got it. So you meet Brooke, and you're sort of duplicitous. She doesn't know about your partying ways?
She knew a little bit, like, in high school, I partied and stuff, but... Yeah. And it wasn't like, we got married, when I was with her at the beginning, it was, my attention was on her, and so the partying aspect and that addiction side probably maybe got closed off for a minute, You know what I mean? Just because the attention was drawn more to her, and then we started talking more wedding, and then, you know.
Got it.
But, you know, I mean, based on a Mormon standard, and we've talked about it, I mean, you know, I didn't get married worthily as far as a Mormon standard. You know, I don't think anybody can, personally.
Right.
But,
So you didn't marry Brooke in the temple?
no, we did.
You did? So that, to some people, means you really are following all the rules. To most LDS, I think, if you go and do it in the temple, you're following all the rules.
Yeah.
So were you following the word of wisdom prior to going in to the temple to get married, sealed?
Probably 50%.
50%? So some people, that's just anathema. That's just no way. That's not worthy. And
No,
for
it's
you,
not.
it's like, well,
You know, and I had the guilt factor, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to go to hell. And then you go into the thing and you're just like, man, I need to be more high to understand this. No, I was kidding. I'm kidding, I should say. I shouldn't.
I thought you'd say, I quit all substances because that was the biggest trip of my life.
Yeah, man, that's crazy stuff. I want what they had to put that together. No, I'm kidding.
So you marry Brooke, and I think, you know, your parents approved of Brooke.
They love her. They loved her.
Yeah.
They still do.
Yeah. And that's important in a Mormon family. I remember Steve Benson, who left the Mormon church, talking about how, you know, the power of the family over who you marry is
huge,
so big. And so, but also, to be fair, it's probably been tough for Brooke if you went into it, you know, kind of a 50%er, and if she wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've had to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
The last several long years many years we've been married, but yeah, you know, I mean, she didn't know, and I kind of went with blinders on, but at the same time, you know, I didn't know like what it was going to become. I didn't know that, you know, how I really felt, I guess, as far as the realities of the addiction, of church, of whatever. I think I was just, you know, scared to disappoint parents, and, you know, as long as the outside perspective looks like it's fine, then whatever, right?
Got it. So what were you doing for a living?
So I was doing, well, let's see, I've mostly just done real estate, like real estate development.
And was that with your dad's company? And that started when you first got married?
So he was doing, he's done it, like, you know, he's always done stuff like that my whole life. But when I came back from my mission, since I spoke Spanish, it was easy for me to kind of go out and talk to. So I kind of started out as a very low end superintendent for them, and then did other things. I would leave and go do some other work, you know, pursue other things. But now I'm back with him. He's getting older, and so it's good right now. But.
So you have 3 children. And describe life? You, Brooke, married, working in real estate, with dad sometimes, and then you're having children. What's happening in your life?
Just kind of going along with it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you throw kids in the mix, I remember I used to be big into like ATV racing, and you know, we'd go down to the sand dunes. And I remember after my first kid Paxton was born, I went down, and it was different. The mindset was different, hitting the jump, as opposed to before. I got responsibilities. Now I can't, if I get hurt, you know, I can't go to work or whatever. So that psychological effect of I'm a father, and I love my kids. But, you know, they're hard, but I've been hard. So
Paxton's on a Mormon mission now.
He is on one. He's in Austin, Texas.
And then you have a son in high school and a daughter in junior high?
So they're both junior high, 7th and 9th grade.
Oh, okay. 7th and 9th. Oh, that's junior high here.
Yeah.
So then what about drug use? Because you're taking the leaps on the ATV and you're thinking, man, I need to be careful here. I have responsibilities. But when it came to using different or more drugs or whatever, that didn't ring in your head probably because you thought, I can manage this, I need this? Yeah.
Oh man, I function so much better when I'm this way. I learn so much more, I can absorb more because I can focus more, but it turned out to be that's not the case. Like,
It's a lie.
my focus was more, I can't wait to get out of here to go get some more stuff.
Right.
And then it just turns into that's all you want.
Yeah. So how did that unfold for us? Tell the audience. And how are we doing on time?
45 minutes.
Okay. Got 15.
Left?
Yep.
Wow.
Goes quick, doesn't it?
So it ended up, getting into the big, like, heroin, cocaine. And I remember I never thought in a million years I'd ever see that stuff.
Wow.
And in fact, it's easier to get that stuff than it is anything else right now. So
Yeah.
it's scary. It's really scary. But so I got really deep into that. And I went to rehab. I've been to 3 rehabs. The one that was the most influential was, it's called Renaissance Ranch. Probably shouldn't plug it, but good place.
What made it special or unique?
At the time, I mean, looking back, there's some weird things, but at the time it was, I felt like it was LDS based, but they were more open-minded towards this lack of perfection that we all have to live up to, right? I get it. You don't have to be. You have this disease. So I think it really helped me kind of mix through some thoughts that I had and clarify a little bit more as far as my view of, church and stuff like that. And, not to justify things, but to be okay with the way I am.
Sure.
Not okay, but in God's eyes,
Yeah.
I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
I'm not, it's not fire and brimstone. If I die tonight with a needle on my arm, I think it's going to be, open arms and I'm sorry that you had to die that way kind of a deal. Not to get off track, but so it got bad. It got really bad. Really bad.
Sorry to belabor it, but how did you leap from pharmaceuticals to cocaine, which you said you would never think you would see, or to heroin? What, cocaine come first, heroin last? I'm just interested in the chronology.
So that kind of come together.
Oh, okay.
And it just turned out, it was easier to get, cheaper.
Huh?
Much cheaper because pharmaceuticals, and then, of course they started cracking down on the pharmaceuticals being, written and doctors are getting in trouble. But just came down to, accessibility and price, cheaper.
So it's purely economic. This is when we laugh.
Yeah.
Brooke, your mom, and you're working with your dad. They have to be able to tell that you're on something.
They knew, and they can tell now. If I were to show up high, they'd be like, dude, it might take them a couple times to convince themselves that, oh, he's doing it again. But yeah, they can tell.
Do you have that really unfortunate result of addiction where you're assumed to be high when you're not?
Yeah, I've had that a few times.
That's really irritating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've worked really hard to be clean, and you have a bad day, and you're kind of like, oh, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
All I wanted was a Pepsi.
Well, and, it's at the same time, it's comforting to be able to sit there and go, I'm not using to defend yourself.
Right.
But knowing that they're not convinced. So
the church, marriage, kids, job. How long ago was it, Justin, that you were using habitually heroin?
2 years ago?
And were you shooting it?
No.
No. Snort?
I don't smoke it.
Smoke heroin.
Mm-hmm.
And then what changed in the 2 years? Was it the Renaissance visit?
No, I'd gone to another rehab after just, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. So, no, it was longer than that. Do you remember I left and then I came back and we met in the parking lot? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was right. I was so excited to see it. But just, stuff happens, dude. Your life falls apart. It's not, you think you're in control and everything is totally normal, but on the outside looking in, it's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
Right? But in my mind, I think, man, I'm totally good.
It's so funny. I have a daughter who deals, actually our whole family deals with addiction of some sort or another, but my oldest daughter, she joneses to get high every single day. She battles the desire to get high almost like every moment of every day.
Really?
Yeah, she has to battle it that strongly, and she's done remarkably well. She's gotten over, but she joneses for it. You know, once you've had it, do you find that to be?
Oh yeah. And going back, let's rewind to like even like junior high or my younger days. Like, I guess the word could be jonesing. Like I'm desiring this thing, and it's fantasy right now. It's in my head. Like, oh man, I want to be like, you know, you see people drinking beers at the park or whatever, just or doing this and that, and so it's like fantasizing about that, and then just desiring it. You know, because I mean, when I was younger, married, it's kind of weird, but like I would get so mindset on needing to do something. Like I would just go rent a hotel room and just binge, just to get that desire. You know what I mean? And but then it turns out it's just a daily thing. But your life just falls apart, man. You know, it's. You know, when you mix opiates into this mix, it's the worst. You know, you're sick, and then you're always relying on people that are just in the exact same mindset as you are to supply your habit, and it's like the blind leading the blind. You know.
Wow.
Some cases, if you're lucky, you get a good setup, but nothing lasts forever. So, and the amount of money that you spend, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
So, intellectually, you're able to see the waste of addiction, but does that and it must outweigh for you the desire to participate? But do you still desire to do it, even though you know it's so destructive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
the facts don't matter then. They weigh in the facts of the destructive nature of it, but in reality, it doesn't remove the desire.
No.
So how do you deal with that?
The desire in the sense of it's not all the time, but it's, you know, for me right now, I can say that I just, you know, if the desire comes up, I'm able to look down, finally, really, and being honest with looking down the road, you take this path, within 2 weeks, a month, dude, your life's going to be destroyed. And how many times have you done this to where this could be your last shot? People will just be like, we're done with you, man. You know, I mean, I've had a lot of support from family and, you know, and help and stuff like that. And so, you know, what do I do if that happens? But I know a lot of people that, you know, their families turn their back on them and they're just kind of alone. But
so that knowledge in your head, that ability to look down the road to a month or 2 weeks or whatever, and to realize, yeah, I can get away with it now. I might only just do it once. All those lies you tell yourself. The reality is you can see down the road, and that in and of itself tells you, okay, no, I'm not going to. My daughter talks about that too.
It's inevitable, man. I mean, like, and there's other people out there that are in the addiction business that'll maybe have a different opinion, but, you know, I'm talking more for myself, what I've learned for me. And, you know, yeah, I mean, it's obvious. Like,
yeah.
You put your hand in a fire, it's going to burn, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
You know, thinking you can keep putting your hand in the fire and it's not going to burn yourself.
Yeah.
So, but it's scary though. It sucks because you can justify and talk yourself into doing anything, which is, you know, that's the power of the mind, I guess.
So I got a tough question for you as we start to wrap this up.
Okay.
If you could go back and live the Mormon life without ever experiencing and doing any of this and getting the addictions and going to the rehabs and the money and the disappointment that comes with it, with marriage and family, versus having all those experiences of getting high and experiencing drug addiction and being where you are in your walk with the Lord, would you go back and change it?
No.
Isn't that fascinating?
I mean, that's just part of my journey, you know. I mean, I've asked the question why all the time. Why? Like, why did my journey have to be this way? But then I look at other people and it's like, man, it's not that bad, you know. But the whole drug lifestyle and the whole thing. I mean, I've been told that it's gone as far as people telling me, before this, you sat down with Jesus and you picked your demon that your imperfection you were going to have, and you chose drugs, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, but.
Yeah.
But
especially as a spirit, you don't really know what they're going to be doing to you.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but given the pre-existence plan that I've been taught my whole life, it made sense. But at the same time, I think it's just a way. It was just my journey, my way for finding truth.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have found it.
And what truth are you at now?
The true gospel of Jesus Christ. The biblical version and the truth of Jesus and God.
Does that help sustain your clean living?
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing for me when I was trapped up and twisted up in the, kind of just going through the cycle with when I was involved in Mormonism was I just felt so much guilt and shame and felt that there's this God, this man that is disappointed in me, and I'm never going to be able to live up to his potential and his expectations. And, and I think a lot, and I know there's thousands of people that feel that same way. I've talked to a lot of them, right?
Sure.
But being out of it and where I'm at now, I feel a sense of freedom. Like, if I go get high tomorrow, I'm not going to kill myself realizing that, oh man, I just let the church down, I let everybody down, I let everybody, it's between me and God, But also at the same time, I don't have that desire to go do that.
It's fascinating.
And it's hard because, there's the term pink cloud, like, oh, you're just on your pink cloud. Wait till reality starts setting in. But, I've been doing this a lot, like I've been dealing with this long enough. It's, AA is great, helps a lot of people, it's helped me in a lot of times, but there's so many avenues and so many ways that you can get help, and and I remember that was the time I learned to turn to Jesus, dude. Like, find something that means something to you, and it's the first place I went.
What would you say in conclusion to anybody who is struggling with any sort of addiction? We're not going to categorize it to drugs.
Yeah,
any. What recommendation?
Well, first off, you need to understand that you're not alone. You're alone in the sense of your actions, if you're concealing it. But there's 1,000 people with the same problem, dealing with the same thing. And again, you go back to, I don't think people need to sit and announce their problems, but to be able to find somebody to talk to about it that truly understands. Like I've gone to lots of counselors, and the ones that don't have any experience with that lifestyle, man, they only go so far, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And
book knowledge.
Yeah, it's just like, well, you don't have any idea how to, and so you're not alone. It's, but to be able to find somebody that you can talk to, whether it's a program or whatever. AA is good, the church thing, if that works for you, but, and to not give up, because you're going to go, I don't know how many times I've had to start over. You hit bottom and everything falls apart, and you got your family and everything you're trying to figure out and save and keep together, and been very open with my family, so my kids know all about it. But just that you're not alone, It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be open about the fact that you might prefer to smoke a cigarette every once in a while than, do something else. I'm not saying it's bad for you, but
sure.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Right. Bring it out. It's okay.
It's okay to, what's the saying? You're always going to smell the sin on somebody if they smoke, as opposed to the person that is concealing his and he's got, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
We're just here. We're trying to survive.
Justin has a wonderful wife, Brooke. She's walked with him through this. It hasn't been easy, and it's never easy with people like me and Justin and others of you who have issues, and I'm sure Brooke has issues. They have 3 beautiful children, blessed with 3 very accomplished, beautiful funny, kind, smart kids. And I really thank you for having the courage to be so transparent and to say it as it is. Because, like you said, that's what's needed. We need to get over the sin, no, perfection stuff, and let's just bring it real, because so many struggle with these things. You've been very courageous. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thanks, man.
Write your comments below. Tell us everything that you think about this conversation, Justin, addiction, whatever it might be, and we will see you next week here on Heart of the Matter.
Sweet.
Great job.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it was. Did a really good job. Oh, I didn't even know you would be able to do that.
What?
Just articulate that well. And,
Really?
yeah, because you're usually pretty casual. You just, I don't know.